Hello there, y'all. It's Miss Campbell, and today we are going to go through solving equations. So this is a review of what we've learned in algebra, and we're going to use it in geometry, so that's why we're going to go through it again. So we have our first example here. Got several different terms, okay? We want to make sure that we get anything with a variable on the left-hand side of the equation and anything that is just a number over to the right-hand side. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to combine like terms like what we did yesterday, and that's going to make it easier for us to move things, getting the variables on the left-hand side and getting the constants on the right-hand side. So automatically I see here this negative 5n and a negative n. Those both have n's, so they should get combined. So remember, we have negative 5n, and then this is a negative 1n. So like we covered yesterday, well, we just add them together. What's a negative 5 plus a negative 1? Well, it's negative 6. And since they're n terms, they get an n. Okay, so we still have this 1. So we have 1 minus 6n equals 7. Okay, now our next step would be to take this 1 over to the other side. Have to remember, we have to use opposite operations to move things from one side of my equal sign to the other. So to get rid of this 1, it's a positive 1. So to get rid of it, we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So now the 1 and the negative 1, those will cancel. We have our negative 6n. And then we have 7 minus 1, which is 6. Now my last step, I need to get rid of this negative 6 in front of that n. Remember, there's understood multiplication going on here. We have a negative 6 times n. So how do we get rid of multiplication? With division. So you just divide by the negative 6 in front of that n. And whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do that on the other side. So we're dividing by negative 6. So negative 6n, when you divide it by negative 6, negative 6's will cancel. So we just have n equals, and then now what is 6 divided by negative 6? It's going to be negative, because a positive divided by a negative is going to be a negative, and 6 divided by 6 is 1. So there we go. And in order to check your work, you could take this n equals negative 1 and plug it back in to see what you get. So I have 1 minus, and then 5, and instead of n, I'm going to put negative 1, then minus negative 1 here, 7. Okay, so I have 1, and then what's a negative 5 times a negative 1? That's positive 5. And then again, a negative 1 times this negative 1, that's positive 1. It's equal to 7. 1 plus 5 is 6, plus another 1 is 7. So 7 equals 7, so we did it correctly. So n is equal to negative 1 for that first. There. Okay. Next example that we have here is negative 2 minus 4a plus 2 equals 24. Okay, so my negative 4a, that's going to just stay like that. And now I have a negative 2 and a positive 2. Since those don't have a's, they're going to get combined together. What's negative 2 plus 2? 0. They're going to cancel themselves out. So like if you rewrite it like this, we have negative 4a minus 2 plus 2 equals 24. Think about that. Minus 2 plus 2, those cancel each other. So we just have negative 4a equals 24. And then to get rid of that negative 4 in front of the a, we divide by negative 4. Can't forget the sign, okay? You always have to divide by that number with its sign. So the negative 4 and the negative 4, they cancel. So a, and then 24 divided by negative 4. Well, what's 24 divided by 4? It's 6. But then we have a positive divided by a negative, so it's going to be negative 6. So a is negative 6. And again, if you plug negative 6 in over here for a, you should get out 24. Okay, our next example, these next two, they have decimals in them. So you can remember your decimal addition and subtraction rules, how to line those up, or you can use your calculator on this part here just to help you with the decimal pieces. So first thing, I have plus 4p and plus 5.3p. Okay, I need to combine these terms because they both have p in them. So 4 plus 5.3. 4 plus 5.3 is going to be 9.3. So I have 1 plus 9.3p equals 8.44. Okay, now I need to move anything that does not have a p term over to the other side. So I need to move this 1 over here with this 8.44. Well, how do I get rid of 1? Minus 1. So minus 1. So I have 9.3e equals, and then remember this 1, it's like 1.00, okay? So you line up those decimals. So what's 8.44 minus 1? It's going to be 7.44. And again, use the calculator to check that math. You don't want to mess up on subtracting decimals, okay? Don't lose your points there. Now, our last thing that we need to do is get rid of this 9.3 in front. So divide by 9.3, divide by 9.3. And I'm going to use the calculator to do that. So I have 7.44 divided by 9.3. And that is going to give me 0.8. Go. Okay. Next. Here, it says we have 4.2 minus 2.2x minus 3.4 equals 14.88. Okay, first thing we need to do, look and see if we have any like terms we need to combine. Well, I have this 4.2 and this negative 3.4. The negative 2.2x, there's no other x term, so he's just going to stay that. So I have negative 2.2x. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4.2 and I'm going to subtract 3.4 from it. You're technically adding, like this is what you're doing. You're doing 4.2 plus negative 3.4. But remember, that's just really 4.2 minus 3.4. Okay. So 4.2 minus 3.4 is 0.8. So plus 0.8, that's equal to 14.88. Okay. Now we need to get this constant term over to the right hand side. So it's plus 0.8, so I'm going to subtract 0.8. I'm putting that 0 on the end over here so you can remember that the 8 from it has to go underneath the tenths place. Okay, and again, use the calculator. So do 14.88 minus 0.8, and so we get negative 2.2x equals, and then we do 14.88 minus 0.8, it's 14.08. And then our last step will be to divide. So x, so I do 14.08, I'm going to divide it by negative 2.2, and so you will get negative 6. Go. All right. Last two examples here. Here we have variables on both sides of our equal sign. So remember, we need to get all of the variables on the left, plain old numbers on the right, okay? Variables on the left, plain numbers on the right. Okay, so first thing, I'm going to take this negative k. I need to move it to the other side. Well, how do I get rid of negative k? Plus k. Plus k over here. I'm going to rewrite. You should rewrite after every step. So I have 7k plus 7, and now I added another k, so plus k equals, and then over here those would cancel. I have negative 1. Okay, now I want to get this 7 over to the other side. So how do I get rid of positive 7? Minus 7. Minus 7 over here. So the plus 7 minus 7 cancel. So I have 7k plus k equals, and now I have a negative 1. Again, use the calculator if you're not so good with your, negatives, adding and subtracting them. So I have -1 minus 7, and that's going to give me -8. Okay, so we come up here. So we have 7k plus k equals -8. Okay, and now we will combine like terms. So 7k plus k, that is 8k. That is equal to -8. Last step, to get rid of that 8, we will divide by 8 on both sides because we have to get rid of the 8 in front of that k. So 8k divided by 8 is going to just give you k, and -8 divided by 8 is going to give you -1. So k is -1. Right, and here is our last example. You can see that we have variables on both sides and constants on both sides. So we need to get all of our variable terms over to the left-hand side and all of these constant terms over to the right-hand side. But to make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to actually combine some like terms on each side of the equation first and then move everything around. So if I look at the left-hand side of my equation, I see I have a 4 and a +6. Those can get combined. So 4 plus 6 is 10. So we have 10 plus 5m. Okay, and now looking at the right-hand side, I just have the 8, so that's going to be 8. But I have this -2m. Let me actually put that in a box. It's different. I have a -2m and a +5m. So I need to combine those together. So what is -2 plus 5? It's +3, so plus 3m. Okay, now all of the terms with an m in them need to be on the left-hand side of the equal sign. Everything that is just a plain number needs to be on the right-hand side of the equal sign. So I'm going to move things around. 10 needs to go over to the other side, so I'm going to do -10. And you have to add constants or subtract constants to other constants, so plain numbers. So on the left-hand side, the 10 and the -10, those cancel. So I have 5m equals, and now I have 8 minus 10. Again, use the calculator if you're not sure. So 8 minus 10 is going to be -2. Still have that plus 3m. Okay, now my last step, well, almost last step, is to get this 3m to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 3m. You always have to do the opposite sign. So 3m minus 3m, those cancel. We still have just our -2 left over there. And so now 5m minus 3m is 2m. Last step, divide by 2. So a -2 divided by a +2 is going to be -1. There you go. That's all there is to solving equations, and I'll see you guys next time.